Welcome back to another Mackem in the Middle podcast after another Sunderland game. This time back in the league once again. Doncaster away, 12 o'clock kickoff, half 12 kickoff I should say, on Sky Sport. Very early one for anyone that did make the trip, but it was worth it in the end because we did win 3-0 and it could have been a lot more than that, which we'll talk about. But after the Arsenal game, we said confidence should be quite high. It was a good performance against Arsenal, John. We said they should carry it into this game against a very poor Doncaster side. I think it's fair to say, and we did, and definitely deserved the 3 points today.
Yeah, massively. We looked a level above. We know Doncaster are depleted, and they've got some youngsters in there, but you can only beat what's in front of you. And I thought we were very, very good going forward. I thought we were very good at keeping the ball, recycling the ball, picking our moments. And like you say, we've taken what's happened in the Arsenal game, and maybe we're the Arsenal of the league almost, and we've done the business, which is nice to see finally.
Yeah, and you could tell from the game today as well. Obviously at 1-0 and possibly at 2-0, it is about winning the game. But as soon as we scored the third, for large parts of the second half, especially, you could just tell the players were enjoying it more than they haven't in other games this season. Like even the Mackem game, you could sense there was still a bit of, I don't want to say it was unprofessional this afternoon against Doncaster, but there was more freedom, I suppose, in that second half today.
Yeah, I think the word as well to use is maybe control. I think there was plenty of times, excuse me, where we could have just relentlessly just gone forward, but it was nice to manage the game. Obviously, we'd won the game at 3-0, but it was nice to manage the game and maybe manage ourselves almost. We know we've got a massive game on Thursday, which is going to be a totally different test. So it was nice to be able to and actually see the players do it, just control the game and control the moment. No one really had to, barring a few maybe sort of bad tackles from Doncaster, but just sort of ride the game out and just sort of see it out as a bit of a training exercise. And sort of players like Embleton and sort of Dan Neil, even though being really young, just having that sort of game management experience just to control the ball. And we looked a level above and just control the ball, recycle the ball. And you could tell by then Doncaster were just I think the goalkeeper summed it up at the end for me, where he just did not want to release the ball. He just sort of held it and said, no, it's a waste of time because they were just going to ball. So it's nice to see us do that.
Yeah, and I think the one thing with Sunderland in the past as well is, especially with games like this, where obviously Rotherham did get beat last night, and Wigan had their game postponed today. I think it was postponed, possibly yesterday. I'm not sure when they went to be playing. But this was again a chance for Sunderland to kind of claw back them points, albeit Wigan do still have them games in hand. This was essentially our game in hand over Rotherham. And in the past 4-5 seasons, these are the games that we know we needed to win, but never did. But this time we have, and it puts us in a very good position with all things considered, the injuries, a couple of players missing with COVID today. I think O'Brien, I think there was one more missing as well. We are in a very, very good position with, all these circumstances acting against us.
Yeah, we are. And like you say, it's nice for us to be, the ones taking advantage of Rotherham losing and Wigan not playing. And I think it maybe comes from, Johnson gets a lot of stick, but I think maybe it comes from him. We sort of take each game, but just play the game. It's not about, if it's a game in hand or it's this or it's that. It's let's just play the game, win the game, and then we'll go from there, as opposed to, seasons gone by and we've had sort of 3-4 games in hand, and it's very much a massive pressure, to claw those back. And it's easy for the fans to go, yeah, well, and I'm as guilty as anyone to say, oh, well, we've got those games in hand and we'll be fine. But you have to go out there and do the business. And, again, fair play to them. They've gone out and done that. It's nice for us to be in the position. Wigan are still, they're still going really well. But then that does add that little pressure. And then you've got to see if they can handle that pressure. As of, previous season, we haven't.
Yeah. And obviously when people, from an outsider look at the league at the moment, and when I say outside, I'm talking not Wigan, not Rotherham, not Sunderland, there's not many will talk about Sunderland doing well this season, because ultimately, going into this game, we were third in the table, we're now second, albeit Wigan are, one win away from going above us again, having played 2 games less, I think. But like I said just before, there's so many circumstances against Sunderland, not just recently, but the whole season, that Rotherham and Wigan haven't had. They haven't had a massive injury crisis where they've had a full start, 11 out injured. We've had 4 fullbacks out injured at one point. We've now got 1 striker at the club that can play these next few games going into January. There's so many things that Sunderland don't have at the moment that Rotherham and Wigan do, yet we're still in touch and distance of them.
Yeah, I suppose it's just, it's a narrative. I'm sure. I think Johnson touched on it before the game. It's like, everyone has their, the COVID thing and the injury thing. And don't get me wrong, we have suffered. And, a lot of our good players have suffered. Obviously, Broadhead's out, probably for the season now. We've lost a lot of good players, and the COVID thing doesn't help. So yeah, it's nice in a bit of adversity that we're going that way. And like I say, I'm not really too fussed about sort of coverage and recognition from whoever. I maybe think I don't know if it's a coincidence or not that our form's a little bit on the turn with and Sky have sort of come knocking, and because not many people, let's be honest, even probably Sunderland fans wouldn't want to watch Doncaster Sunderland.
Yeah.
So it's, for it to be picked for the television is a strange one, but it's just one of them. And obviously they've had us on for the Carabao, and I think we're on Fleetwood, in 10 days' time. So it's, I don't know if quietly they're maybe taking notice of us and giving us a little bit. And, even though you do get the lazy commentary of the guy on Sky today said that Aidan McGeady's been amazing for Sunderland.
Yeah.
Which, you tell me the last time he was amazing for us. So it's quite a lazy thing, but, I'm happy to go under the radar and just do our own thing.
Yeah. Well, look at the game as a whole. Obviously, Sunderland took the lead after, I think it was 6 minutes with a penalty. And I think I seen on Twitter last time, I think it was Bobby Madley, the referee, last time he gave us a penalty was against Newcastle. Stephen Fletcher getting taken down by Colaccini, I think it was. That was an interesting stat, but is it a penalty?
Yeah, I think it's one of those little. It is quite soft, but in the grand scheme of things, it's a foul and it's inside the box. It's I probably wouldn't agree it's the most stonewall penalty. But Kevin Phillips was happy with it, and I'm happy any time we get a penalty. We'll take it. There's been plenty of them go against us, plenty of them go for us. But fair play to Diaky to take his man on and win us the penalty and sort of send us on our way.
Yeah, and obviously Diaky was back today after injury. Albeit I think after he went off in that game, I thought he would be out for a while. He wasn't. Came back today, and you can definitely tell he's improving. Much like every other player in the team is improving with every game. I remember, say 4 or 5 weeks ago, we were talking about Diaky, how he wouldn't take his player on. He wouldn't really do much with the ball. But there was 2 or 3, possibly 4 times today. The first one where he's won the penalty. Second and third time where on another day could have also won a penalty, where he's taken his player on, he's shown confidence, getting a shot off, getting a ball in the box, and he just looks a lot more confident, a lot more of a confident player now.
Yeah, he does, and I've maybe think that's down to the coaching team. It's going to be different playing, at Bayern Munich or Union Berlin or wherever. German football's the rigors of League One, and there is a player there. Obviously, it's going to be difficult. His life off the pitch because he wouldn't have been able to have his family over. It's a new country, and those types of things. But if the coaches can get hold of him and said to him, I screamed at the telly today, as soon as you're 1-on-1 with a defender, he's got the ability to go past him, and that's what we want. I think the coaches have encouraged that, and that is what we need to see. I think he still needs to work on, making his runs, and there were a few. He's played a nice ball through, but the sort of Pritchard having been on the same wavelength, it's just a case of working those things out, which I'm sure they will. But we're seeing a really there's a reason he's here at League One Sunderland and not playing in the Premier League or playing at Bayern Munich. There's a reason for that. So there's a player in there, and if we can unlock that, and it goes hand in hand with the coaches and showing him where he can improve and what he can do. Like you say, we've got a very, very good player in our hands.
Yeah. Well, it was Stewart that took the penalty. I was somewhat surprised that he took it. I thought Goose would have took it. I think he is kind of the most frequent penalty taker out of that starting 11, albeit doesn't take too many himself. But it was Stewart that took it, Stewart that scored it. And I think prior to this game, I think the commentator said he scored 1 in 9 I think it was, which I didn't actually realise he was on that much of a slump at the time. But again, similar to other players, similar to what a few times we've said this season, that goal will do him the world of good confidence-wise. But it's not just that. It's because a lot of the time you see a striker who hasn't scored in so many games, the performance levels drop. I think Stewart is one of the only strikers, certainly in recent years for Sunderland, where even if he's not scoring goals, he's still playing very well. But nevertheless, that goal today will do him the world of good going forward.
Yeah, of course it will. I want, me personally, I want my striker, as soon as there is a penalty up for grabs, I want him snatching the ball from everyone. I want to see that, ambition and confidence from him, regardless of, he knows he hasn't scored, for 8 or 9 games, but I'm sure he's still confident and still think he's in form, even though he hasn't scored. But it's nice to have a striker that I wouldn't have said he's been bad at all, and he's done a lot of the donkey work, and bring his others into play, as opposed to last season. If White didn't score, there was nothing else. So you've got to take swings and roundabouts. But what we need now is other players obviously stepping up with him, and scoring like we did today. But on another day, he probably could have scored maybe one or two more. But as soon as a penalty is given, I want him screaming for that ball. What you couldn't see on the screen who was taking it. So I thought Gooch will have it, and then obviously Ross Stewart. I was really, really happy for him, and fair play to him. And that's what we want.
Yeah. Well, Sunderland did go 2-0 up eventually, albeit it was in the latter stages of the first half, and it was Embleton with the goal. A few times this season we've took like a quick free kick or a quick throw in or corner or whatever it may be, and not been on the same wavelength. Today we were. I think it was Flanagan with the ball over the top. Pritchard quicker to the ball than any other defender. Played it back to Embleton, who I thought his first touch at the time was going to let him down, but he's got it under control, put it under the keeper, made it 2-0. And I think realistically at that point, the game was won for Sunderland. Even at 1-0, I don't think Doncaster really looked much of a threat and didn't look like they were ever going to score a goal. But certainly at 2-0, it looked like the game was won for Sunderland.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, like we said earlier, we were controlling the game. Doncaster didn't really sort of conjure up, anything. I think Hoffman's had probably one of the best, the easiest days they'll ever have. We've still got to then go on, and you never know. It takes one shot against Sunderland, and normally we're on the back foot. So it was nice of us before half time to kill the game. If it's 1-0 going at half time, they're going to say, right, it's only 1-0, let's go and absolutely have a go.
Yeah.
2-0 before half time absolutely kills them. And then if you're then Sunderland, you say when you come out second half, hit them early and the game's dead. You then, like we said, we can then see out the game, and it was more like a training game, and you can introduce players like Hume, who need the minutes, Sirkin, and give young Harris a go, and the others, some much needed rest. So, but yeah, in terms of the finish, fair play to Flanagan for thinking quick. Great run by Pritchard, who's, probably the best player at the club at the moment, on form. And we said other people have got to step up, and it's probably not the best touch from Embleton, but he's still managed to finish it because he's that good with either foot. So yeah, I was really impressed with that.
Yeah, well, it was 2-0 at half time, and like I said, I think everyone at that point, including the players, albeit they won't want to see it, kind of knew the game was over from a Sunderland point of view and a Doncaster point of view. But half time, second half arrived. Sunderland again got a very early goal. I think this was again 6 minutes into the half. And again, a very well worked goal. Gooch, again, a player who's been criticised this season for not doing what he did in this goal. Got the ball down, beat his man, put the ball into the box from the byline. I think it was Pritchard with a kind of backheel effort. It's gone down as an own goal because of the deflection before it went in, but I'm pretty sure it was on target from Pritchard's shot. But we'll see about that. It's gone down as an own goal for now. But again, two players that have certainly, got into form in the last few weeks. And again, Pritchard, he is showing his quality now.
Yeah, he is. And, we were probably a little bit frustrated early on with Pritchard, with injuries and COVID and all those types of things, no pre-season. But now he's probably the first name on the team sheet. And, I'm a massive fan of, Gooch has had his critics, and I've actively been one of those. But at the moment, he's relishing in the team at the moment. And again, he's a little bit like Diaco on the other side. If you're 1-on-1, you'd still fancy him. Just go at your man. Don't overthink it. And he had beaten his man again, all day and get it to the byline, get your ball in. And I think it's a case of hitting an area, not necessarily a player, because the players are finally have a bit of a plan of to where to be. That's where the ball's going to go. That's where we're going to practice. That's where we're going to position it. And that's where the players are. And Pritchard's probably unlucky. I think if you saw it from the back angle, it is actually going wide, I think, before it hits the defender. So obviously that's why it goes down as the own goal. But Pritchard still makes the goal. You can still technically say, even the one he had a few weeks ago against Cambridge, the corner. I'd still put that down to him. So yeah, massive respect to those two for a little bit of adversity maybe. And again, they're really core to how well we're doing at the moment. And maybe the injuries that we've had with the players who are not playing at the moment are maybe a bit of a blessing in disguise. You look now, where would Luke O'Nien fit in? Probably not anywhere. McGeady, probably not anywhere. So it's maybe I don't want to give Johnson a bad rep, but maybe we've sort of stumbled on a formation that's suiting everyone who's available. And when those players are back, it's a bit more of a conundrum.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Well, I don't know if there's actually anyone particularly close to coming back, is there, really? I think McGeady's still out for a while. Obviously, Huggins is out for a while. Willis is obviously out for a season. O'Nien's out for some time. Broadhead's out for the season. I think everyone that's injured at the moment is out for some time, which is not ideal. But at 3-0, we got the penalty in the first half that got us underway for the scoring. And I think it's fair to say we could have had one, possibly at a stretch, 2 more penalties in the game. And had the game been a little bit closer, say it was 1-1 or 1-0 at the time, I think that decision against Diaku, the one where I think this is the second kind of penalty shout on him, had it been a closer game, like I say, 1-0 or a 1-goal advantage, in a different game, I think that probably gets given as a penalty.
Yeah, especially the shirt pull, maybe not the sort of the pushing and shoving, but the shirt pull. If you're pulling someone's shirt, that to me is you are impeding them from getting away from you with the ball. And
it's one of them again, though. Anywhere else on the pitch, it gets given as a free kick.
Yeah, it was. But I think the Sky's commentator probably summed it up a bit, saying like, he probably feels sorry for him a little bit. Not that shouldn't really make a difference. A penalty's a penalty, but it's probably one that we'll probably have the ump with. If it's 0-0 or 1-1, we'll probably have the ump with. But we got the first one, and we built on it, so we'll take it.
Yeah. Well, it did finish 3-0. 3 points take us up to second, 1 point from top. I think Wigan have the 2 games in hand on us. Obviously, we've still got Rotherham and Wigan to play at home coming up. But I suppose, obviously, we've got the Sheffield game coming up. But the next biggest thing to come for Sunderland is the January transfer window, which is fair to say. Obviously, Broadhead is looking like he's going to be out for a season. Huggins is out for some time. And all the other players that are injured look like they will be out for a good extra month, 2, maybe 3 months. I put on Twitter before the game, John, that I think we need probably 6-7 players, probably an over-exaggeration at the time. But I think it's fair to say that, you're looking at 4, maybe 5 players at a minimum to come in for Sunderland with the injuries that we have, with the likelihood of the likes of O'Brien and Alves leaving. There is a lot of work for Sunderland to do in January to make sure that we do keep up with the top 2.
There is, yeah. And you would have thought maybe 2 or 3 of those were already sorted, sort of November, December, early December time of those targets. But now, obviously, like you say, with the injuries coming now, I think it maybe steps up a little bit. We're maybe thinking about, do we, what type of striker do we get in? Do we get, Ross Stewart's obviously number 1. We need a striker to come in and maybe to play when he, after 60, 70 minutes. But I think now with Broadhead injuries, I think that maybe goes up a level. Yeah. And we need a player who's going to come in and be maybe, as good as, if not better than Broadhead, if we really are going to kick on, because we know the games that we've played recently, the reason, a lot of the good stuff we've done is through, the partnership of Broadhead and Stewart. So that, I think that elevates it now, and I think we'll probably see now where, Speakman and Kirill Louis Dreyfus, where where their ambitions are. Are we really?
Yeah.
No one's talking about a £4 or £5 million striker. No one's talking about that, but it's now about maybe someone who is in the Championship and who's maybe not. Who's going to come down here, and people are still going to go, "Wow, how did they get him?" I think it has to be that type of player. I
Could
think
do with like
maybe,
an Eddie Nketiah. I think he would fit in quite well.
yeah, I think there's talk of him going to sort of a higher Championship team, which is a shame. But I think it has to be. We really, I think we have to elevate it now, and we have to bring it up to, maybe a certain level. Maybe before we would just fill in. Johnson will say we want to start it stronger. And on paper you could do that all day long, but it really does need to be. We don't need a couple of players coming in who, well, we've got, Humes just filling in for when Sirkin's not there, or that it can't be that type of player. I don't think it has to be someone coming in who's really going to push. Really going to push every person in that position to say, if you're not on it, then you're in trouble. Because at the moment, the injuries, I think, if we can get through January, I think I did look at the fixture list, and most games are then Saturday, as opposed to Saturday, Tuesday, which I think in this league would probably kill us. I think the only thing that might hinder us a little bit is international breaks. So I really do think we need to get everyone. Everyone who's fit needs to be sort of firing. We can't have players just going through the motions like Alves on. Can't play Wednesday against Arsenal because of training and discipline. I know he hasn't had the opportunities, but you still have to remain professional. You still have to respect that you're still being paid. So at the end of the day, then he then goes. He's not an asset to me. He then needs to go, and then someone else needs to come in for that money. And be, keeping Flanagan, keeping Wright, keeping Doyle on their toes, properly, because Alves isn't going to play in the league. So, do you know what I mean? It needs to be a real thought out plan, and we will see in the next sort of 10 days what the plans are, and any talk of Burnley having Dan Neil for 3 million is, let's shut that down immediately.
Yeah. And I think there's a few people who think, we could do with one or two players in January. And I just don't think that would be anywhere near enough. And I think this is the first time in the season when you look at the squad where the starting 11 is still very good for this league. But any injuries from this point onwards, the replacements would significantly weaken the team. If Stewart comes out, O'Brien goes in now. If one of the centre halves goes out now that, we don't have Willis or Jamadli, I don't know what's happening with him. He kind of went missing again. Fullbacks, we haven't got any fullbacks fit at the moment. Right-sided, that is. Obviously, Hume's just come back, Sirkin's just come back. If I was to look at places that I think we need signings in, I would have said a striker anyway prior to Broadhead's injury. I'd probably now say we need two forwards to come in, granted that O'Brien will probably leave. We've got three centre midfielders, one of which is Evans, who, other than the big games, seems to have a lot of injuries. A one centre half injury away from having, no backup centre halves to kind of come on the bench. Is that realistically where we are? 3, 4, maybe a couple of strikers, a midfielder, a centre back, a right back. It's a big ask in January because not many clubs want to sell the players or loan the players, because it is quite hard to get replacements in that January window. But it is a necessity for Sunderland at this point.
Yeah, I think it is, and I think if you, on paper, 6 or 7 players looks like, wow, an absolute, sort of shift change. But if you're talking Alves is going, you'd probably expect Patterson to go out. You'd maybe, I would have thought they'll bring Diamond back.
Yeah.
But if you're saying Alves is going and O'Brien is going, and possibly one other, then in theory you're only getting in sort of 3 new players. You're obviously going to hopefully swap the other one. So if O'Brien's going, you need to then bring someone in, but you still need someone in anyway. As long as we can do that, then I don't see the problem. We've got the main starters who are, I think we have got a bit of leeway to bed them in. I know the injuries are racking up a little bit, but at the moment we have got time to bed a few players in. But it's going to be a tough one, and maybe they'll look at the Broadhead one and think if we cut that one early, we might have to pay a cancellation fee or whatever. But is it not worth doing that so we can get another loan player in? Obviously, because it hinders us because we're at a loan limit, I think.
Yeah.
In that way, so there is a lot of things to sort out at the moment. I think they'll be working hard behind the scenes to sort that out. But yeah, like we said, a lot of work to be done.
Yeah. Rattle through player ratings pretty quickly. In the last part, obviously we'll start with Hoffman. Did nothing in the game at all, so 6.
Yeah, same. I was quite impressed with his distribution as well, which is good. Along the floor, keep the ball moving and to play it out quick and know when. So yeah, 6.
Yeah. Gooch, obviously, I don't know if he'll actually get the assist for the goal, given it was an own goal, but essentially he got the assist for it. Had the beating of the fullbacks pretty much every time that you try to go forward, offered a threat most times, so I'll probably say 7.
Yeah, same for 7. I thought he was very good today, and I like him coming from a little bit deeper at left back. Yeah, very impressed today.
Yeah. Bailey White, again, defended well, played the ball out very well, like he has done in the last few weeks, helped lead the back line fairly well, so again, it's probably go with a 7.
Yeah, same. Go for 7. I thought he did well actually going forward. Found himself
Yeah.
quite high. I think the only thing that maybe let him down, he held onto it a little bit too long, maybe just a couple of times. But I think that was maybe because Diaky was a little bit static at times. But yeah, I was really impressed. And again, he's another one. Fair play to him for, there was a time when he was, he was bang out of form, and now he's, again, first name on the team sheet, one of those.
Yeah. There's going to be a very significant pattern in these blue ratings, I will say. Flanagan, I'd say again, say at 7. Read the game very well, probably better than usual. Always in the right place at the right time, won his fair share of headers, put in some very good tackles. That one, especially, kind of in the latter stages of the game on halfway, they got us going forward again. So again, 7.
Yeah, same 7. I thought it was again very good today. Probably one of the easy games, but you still got to do your basic stuff, which we know in the past he's struggled with, and again, an absolute integral part of that solid back unit.
Yeah. Doyle, again, 7. Played the ball well, defended well, found himself on the wing multiple times and did fairly well when he was up there as well. Put some decent balls into the box, controlled the ball well. So yeah, 7.
Same, gone 7. Yeah, again, bringing the ball out he's very good at that, and yeah, again, another integral part of that defense. Yeah, absolutely love him.
Yeah. Diaku, I will also go with a 7. Good footwork, won the penalty, offered a threat, especially in the first half. Saw a little of the ball in the second half at times, but when he did have it, he looked a threat, wanted to beat his man, put some good balls in the box. Obviously got an assist for Hume, who got the ball in the back of the net, but he was about 10 yards offside at the time. So again, 7.
Yeah, same 7. Yeah, I thought he was very good at beating his man, and it was nice to see him when it didn't come off or someone didn't make the run, they'd pass the ball to give them a rollicking. He could easily just sort of go into a shell. So at least he's out there, sort of personality wise. I was very impressed to see that.
Yeah. Midfield, Dan Neil once again started and once again did what he usually does, controlled the midfield well, kept the ball moving, played some good passes forward. I think he won his fair share of tackles as well. And I think that I've just seen a stat on Twitter somewhere, I've scrolled past it now, so I can't remember, but in terms of, possession won and passes completed, he was top of the list for everything. So again, I'd probably say 7, bordering 8 for Dan Neil.
I'd probably go with an 8. The way he controlled the game. It's just he's a bit of a Rolls Royce player, isn't he? We know how good he is. I absolutely love the bloke. And yeah, there's him on the turn. Maybe the only thing, probably being really picky here, is I think late on he tried to turn sort of 3 Doncaster players. Just needs to be a tiny bit wary, but any other time he was just immaculate on the ball. So yeah, I'll go with an 8.
Yeah. Corey Evans, obviously back from injury, didn't really do much in the game, did nothing wrong. But again, in a game that Sunderland were dominating, I think, for me at least, he was passing it backward a little bit too often for a game that when Doncaster weren't really pressing us at all. But did nothing particularly wrong. His passing, when he made the passes, were usually accurate, so I'd probably say 6.
Yeah, same. We go for 6. Quite of a sort of run the mill, like you say. He was going back, and I think when we had a corner and it came back, and he sort of smashed it back to the goalkeeper. And I was thinking, oh, we don't really do it because they're not pressing us very much. But he probably sets the tone for as the captain, just to let's calm it down, pick our moments, and we'll go again. And I'm glad that he came off fairly early, so we can rest him just in case we need him for Sheffield Wednesday on Thursday.
Yeah. Elliot Embleton obviously got man of the match from Sky. I'd probably go with an 8 for Embleton. Obviously, he got his goal, took it very well. Came close on a couple of occasions to getting another goal as well, particularly from long range, but controlled the ball well, played some neat passes and 1-2s with different players, and throughout the game was probably one of, if not our biggest threat going forward. So I'd probably say an 8.
Yeah, same with an 8. He's very good. Again, another one. He's very good on the ball, both feet, and took his goal very well. I had to sort of adapt to maybe a poor first touch, but hopefully that's the Embleton that we can see for the rest of the season. And what an asset to have.
Yeah. Pritchard again, similar to Embleton, on the ball was very good. Very rarely lost the ball. Played some neat passes, some neat 1-2s. Took his goal well, albeit it's probably going to get taken away from him. But again, one of our biggest threats going forward. And he looks like he's really enjoying his football as well, which is obviously a key factor as to how well he's playing at the moment. So again, 8.
Yeah, again, another player, very, very good. Ball retention is quite, and again, he's going to be the difference when we play the so-called better teams. But yeah, today, again, just held the ball really well and carried on from his recent form, and we'll credit him with the goal, and he's bringing goals to the team as well. So yeah, long may that continue.
Yeah. And last but not least, Stewart took and scored the penalty, which started the afternoon for Sunderland. Constantly short for the ball. Again, held the ball up very well. Played some neat one-touch passes around the corner with the defender and forwards, and just helped link the play very well. So I'd probably say 7.
I'll probably go with an 8. I thought he grafted his arse off, which is always a given. I thought he chased and harried them down so they can get anything going. And the amount of times he won the ball from them divering on it and us actually being a bit more proactive. And then it probably was a 7 performance, but I'll bump him up 1 for the goal. It's easy for him to not have scored an 8 and think, oh well, I'll just let someone else take it. So for him to be sort of stepping up and brave, and say I want the ball, then yeah, I'll give him that all day long, and that's what we want to say. So yeah, I'll give him an 8.
Yeah. Well, 4 players for an 8 out of 10 from you. Which man of the match are you going to go with?
I'll probably give it to Embleton because he did actually get a goal from open play, and yeah, very good.
Yeah. Well, Thursday is Sheffield at home. Obviously, we do have the best home record in the league, possibly in the EFL as well, I think it is. Could be wrong on that one though, but it's definitely the best in the league. A game that certainly wasn't particularly pleasing to watch last time out. Obviously that 3-0 defeat at Hillsborough. Hopefully history kind of repeats itself. A 3-0 home win would be very welcome. But predictions for that one quickly?
2-0 Sunderland. Up the league we go.
Who's going to score?
That's Ross Stewart, and we'll have a Dan Neil 30-yarder.
Very nice. Hopefully so. But that is the time we have for today again. Appreciate you joining me at very short notice, straight after the game, John.
Thanks for having me. Have a good one.
It has been a pleasure. We'll be back again to talk about the Sheffield game. Yeah, hopefully so. Probably on Friday, although it is New Year's Eve and I'm at work, so it depends what time that would be. But at some point, we will be talking about the Sheffield Wednesday game. But until then, we will see you later.
That's all, folks.